3, 2, 1, end of test. King with a go.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of Warbird Wednesday. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum, and today I promised you attack helicopters. And you know what happened? Every once in a while, and we tell you we do this, we get viewer comments, and this was actually a pretty good one. It was like, hey, you skipped over one flying boat. This was a very popular segment, by the way, but I got one comment, and I went, no, probably not a good idea to skip this one, so we're going to push back attack helicopters for another week, and we're going to talk about an extremely unique, I wouldn't even call it a flying boat, I would call it an amphibious bomber, is what I would call it. And before I do that, my Esperance assistant, I did notice Italian, my heritage. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying this. Like I said, one thing we want you to remember is we do give all the hats to the kids that come through with the school group. So we don't waste the hats. There were no hats harmed in the making of this video.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3, fire!
So today we're jumping off with the Martin P6M Seamaster, not to be confused with the Seamaster. I will throw up a plan view. Greg can throw up a plan view at home. Now, and this model, by the way, the top of the tail is missing. It suffered a little battle damage. And for you eagle-eyed viewers at home that say, hey, that tail's not right, and we're going to talk about this tail later in the segment as well. But this was a true seaplane. Its first flight was in 1955 with the P6M-1. Now that's important because we're going to talk about a couple of different dashes on this aircraft. Context, historical context. At the end of World War II, the military-industrial complex, as General Eisenhower called it, never met a nuke it didn't like. And so what was happening was you had Strategic Air Command that was, at that time, the only delivery system for atomic weapons, and you had the Navy competing against SAC for dollars. And Strategic Air Command was going big, right? B-36, huge aircraft, big penetrator aircraft that were designed to go in and drop nukes. Now, we had not come up with really the concept of an intercontinental ballistic missile yet, or a sea-launched ballistic missile, and that's where we're going to go down. So the Navy trying to keep pace, and remember, this is programs chasing dollars, right? These are weapon systems, so they can stay in the game, and all the services were competing against each other. You make your own decision whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just kind of stating the historic context of it. And that started, the Navy's process started with the USS United States, which was a gigantic carrier, which would have been, I guess, if you want to qualify it as a super carrier at that time, it was really in the game to launch nuclear bombers. That's what it's, but what its plan was. But again, interference from the Air Force and this back and forth rivalry killed it. It was canceled in 1950, and the Navy went, hey, we can come up with these sea-launched bombers, and we can deliver the atomic weapons. And what have we talked about amphibs and flying boats before? What do you not need? You do not need a runway. They can go anywhere. They can be unpredictable. And so the Navy convinced everybody that we should look into really this kind of large atomic weapon delivery system. So this seaplane strike force was the Navy's big push. This particular weapon system, the aircraft, started out with J-71 engines, jet engines. The initial prototype aircraft, these P-1 aircraft, the nacelles were actually too close to the fuselage and actually burned the fuselage. So they actually had to re-engineer the nacelles a little bit, and that was a problem. The wings on this aircraft are swept at 40%, and there are these like outboard fuel pods that would act, you know, as traditional seaplanes when it was on the water. So the tip tanks were used basically as floats. The first prototype crashed. It had a problem and crashed and broke up. The second prototype crashed and broke up. So that was a problem. And without getting too much into it, and there was loss of life, without getting too much into it, the Navy went back to the drawing board. And like I said, they redesigned the nacelles. They had some other problems. And they had the aircraft, what I have been able to understand, actually the Dash 1 had fairly docile handling characteristics. In other words, actually flew fairly well. It had some issues, but it flew fairly well. Obviously, they lost both prototypes, so it had more than enough issues, but it was actually control responsive. So the Navy said, let's go back with the Dash 2 version of the aircraft in 1959, and that is where I'm going to do my salute today. And my salute today is to all of the folks at Martin, and we're going to talk about why. But Martin was an incredible aircraft manufacturer and really flying boat manufacturer. And they, at one time, really pushed the envelope in these amphibs and these seaborne delivery systems. They don't do it anymore, and I'm going to tell you why when we get to the end of the video. But if you were a Martin employee and you built Martin flying boats, you know, and actually if you did and you see the video, it'd be great to hear from you in the comments, because you are going to be probably 80 years old, 85, somewhere 70, late 70s, 80s. So if you're actually watching YouTube, give us a comment. But we're going to salute you today, and we're going to do that going back to my heritage. Dang, that's good. This is a Italian cherry soda. The label is kind of askew, so I can't do my normal safety check on this one. This one does not have a California redemption, so that gives you an idea how old this is. All right, so we will proceed with caution. Bottled in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Get it out, Wisconsin. All right, so we're gonna pop this. Oh, nothing, absolutely nothing. All right, there's a little bit of fizzing in there. So botulism, we're on track for making sure we don't get botulism on this. But if you were a Martin employee and you built some of these amphibious or these flying boats, I salute you. Ooh, that's bad. Whoa. Ooh, that's been on the shelf too long. Got a little bit of a nip there. This is a spicy Italian. All right, one more for the salute to the Martin employees. Oh, that's just enough to wet the palate and probably destroy my gastric system. So we'll get back to the model. So they lost both prototypes. They went back to the drawing board with the Dash 2 version of this aircraft in 1959. Now, the J-71, they determined that the J-71 engines were underpowered. So they went with the J75 and they changed some of the control surfaces. And what happened? The airplane became basically like flying a brick. It was very unresponsive and difficult to fly, but they were continuing to push this thing. Because what Martin was doing, and remember we talked about it before, you've got all the tooling for the aircraft, right? You've gone up, they built 12 or 13 of these things over time, and you want to salvage that, right? You've got that investment, so you want to keep going. So they kind of figured out with the Dash 2 that it was not anywhere near as responsive, and then they went back and pitched the Navy, well, it can lay mines. What happened at that time? The Sea-Launched Ballistic Missile, Polaris. And so suddenly the Navy had submarines, which are almost undetectable, right? If you do it right, or they're very hard to detect. And you could launch a rocket from way far away, and you did not need this weapon system. So in 1959, it was canceled. But my understanding is, going back to performance, that this could go Mach, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it could, if in the comments, if you feel I'm off, but Mach 0.9 at sea level. So it was fairly fast for its time. So it was a quick airplane. So the Polaris missile delivery system, this sub-launched or sea-launched ballistic missile system, was going to carry the day. And we have it today with the big boomers, with the Trident submarines and various things. And so this made this aircraft obsolete. Now they did, Martin, remember, trying to save that tooling, pitch this as the Sea Mistress, which is an interesting name for an airplane, and a civilian effort. That failed, and the aircraft went into history. Now this is one of them where all of the aircraft were scrapped, and the only thing is there's a tail section of one of them in a museum in Maryland, a Martin aviation museum in Maryland. That is all that survives of the Seamaster. So the airplane moved into history. Now, one thing about this, that this is a milestone, is this was the final aircraft type built by Martin. They went into other systems. They got completely out of the aircraft business, and that was it. If I'm wrong, get after me in the comments section. But my understanding was that was the end of the line, which goes back to the salute, because at one time they had a very storied career, especially in flying boats. So now, if you want to build, I haven't built one of these kits yet. I actually think this would be fun. This is I'm going to do one of these. This is a metal PBY. And so you can do it and build it and then put it on a little stand. And you can collect them all. They look like more of a bend and tab type thing. I'm going to build one of these and we'll give you a product review. But if you want to click on the attached link, Jason will cut one out for you and actually craft it himself. He won't do that, but he will take the package and run down to the store or the post office and mail you that from our store. So if you want one of those, we talk about, if you're teaching the kiddos at home, we have education links on these videos. Please take advantage of that. Those are free, but we cannot do all of what we do without your support. And we have a link on here. You can donate a few shekels. We would love it if you would do that, donate a few bucks. If you came across us on YouTube and you like what you see, which is one take videos, very little production, but all we talk about is Warbirds on Wednesday, then we would be happy to have you as part of our cadre if you'll subscribe. That helps the channel tremendously. If you know somebody that likes this stuff, I've said it before, we have over 200 videos. They vary on quality because we try to make them interesting, but we think they're actually, they're okay. How's that? Really okay? Give us a subscription. If you came across us on Facebook, same thing. Give us a comment and a like, and we would appreciate it tremendously. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
3, 2, 1, end of test. King with a go.
Rise to the blessed day. All my fears have gone away. I guess this means I'm here to stay. Yeah, I'm ready to fly, ready to fly. Wasn't long ago I shook at the thought of being hooked. But ever since I wrote my book, I'm ready to fly, ready to fly.
Come along and join us, we can plug you in a simulator. We'll teach you how to dance and be the perfect imitator. We'll give away all your music to the operator. We were born with a light to shine, and we can do it in our lifetime. And we get the balance right. Oh, we're riding on the satellite.
Satellite.
We're here also.
I was walking down the park, saw them hitting the beat. The sound that emanated, it was really sweet. Told them of a Shire man bitten twice and gave a little